Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are cracking open some really fascinating research. It focuses not so much on the biological side of getting older, but something else entirely.
Right, the mindset piece, the internal stuff.
Exactly. We're diving deep into graceful aging, but specifically why your own self-perception, your internal story, seems to be, well, maybe the most crucial thing for well-being later in life.
It's a really powerful idea.
Yeah, so we're putting the genetics books and the diet plans aside for a bit.
Okay.
Our mission today is to pull out the specific insights, the nuggets, that explain why your belief system about aging is seen as such a primary driver, for well-being, satisfaction, even how long you live.
And we want to give you that shortcut, right, to understanding the cutting-edge psychological takes on this.
That's the goal.
And look, if we just cut straight to the core finding, the thing that runs through all these sources we looked at, it's this. Attitude isn't just something that happens when you age. It's an active ingredient. It's something you do.
An ingredient. Okay.
Yeah. Research consistently shows a positive self-perception of aging is one of the strongest predictors of healthy aging.
Strongest. Like stronger than cholesterol levels or something.
Well, it's right up there. We're not talking tiny effects here.
Okay.
Studies like the ones cited by Sue and colleagues, they show people with positive beliefs about aging don't just feel better subjectively.
Why?
They have objectively better mental health outcomes, higher life satisfaction, and this is the kicker.
Oh, what?
Those with the most positive outlook, they actually tend to live longer.
Wow. Okay, that's a staggering claim, actually.
Isn't it?
If attitude connects to longevity and satisfaction that directly, we really need to understand what's the mechanism? How does seeing ourselves or, talking to ourselves about the future, how does that actually shape the path we end up taking?
Well, the sources, interestingly, they immediately take us a step beyond just basic psychology. They frame our attitudes about aging as something more profound than just opinions. They actually call them spiritual choices.
Spiritual choices. Okay, that sounds maybe a bit inspirational, less scientific.
Right.
How are the researchers defining that? What's the tangible thing happening there?
It really boils down to intentionality. When they use spiritual choice, they mean the conscious decision to adopt a certain internal stance, a sense of agency, of purpose. It's like setting an expectation for yourself.
The self-prophecy.
Exactly, a form of self-prophecy. If you sort of expect decline, loss of meaning, you subtly, maybe unconsciously adjust your behavior to fit that, you pull back. But if you expect continued engagement, purpose, well, your actions tend to follow that belief.
Okay, so it's less mystical prediction, more about priming. Priming our future behavior.
That's a good way to put it.
So the way we talk about getting older, that internal narrative, it's not being heard by, I don't know, the universe, but by our own future selves.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Dictating their readiness, their willingness to stay engaged.
Got it.
It shifts attitude from just a thought, kind of passive, into active preparation. How you think about aging is how you marshal your cognitive resources, your emotional energy, to live fully.
Right.
So that simple act, choosing to believe in resilience or deciding to, as the sources put it, speak blessing over your future, that translates.
Translates into what?
Into higher intentional goal setting, better emotional regulation. And those are absolutely critical for well-being at any age, but especially later on.
Okay, let's pivot then to resilience, because this seems to be where that mind-body connection gets really, really interesting.
It does.
For a lot of people, I think the fear of aging is the fear of physical decline, right? The body letting you down.
Absolutely.
But these sources seem to challenge that whole equation.
They really do. We often make the mistake of thinking successful aging means no physical problems, no struggles.
Right. Smooth sailing.
Yeah, but the research, it's crystal clear. Successful aging is defined by keeping that positive, adaptive outlook going, even when things get tough physically, despite the struggles.
Okay, can you give us some specifics there? How did they measure success if someone had, say, a physical disability or maybe early cognitive issues?
Sure. They looked at things like adaptation, perceived quality of life, PQOL.
Right.
And the evidence showed that older adults who really held on to that belief, that strong feeling that they could handle whatever life threw at them.
Yeah.
They reported successful aging, even when, statistically, objectively, they had significant physical or cognitive limitations showing up in the tests.
So their feeling of coping mattered more than the objective health score.
In terms of their own definition of aging successfully,
No.
yes. Their self-assessed satisfaction, their sense of purpose, that outweighed the raw health data for them.
That's fascinating. It completely reframes the goal then.
It does.
It's like the inner spirit, the outlook, holds the line almost regardless of the body's reality.
And the sources really hammer this point home. They frame resilience not just as, bouncing back,
Right.
but as the presence of faith. Or maybe we could translate that as like a quiet confidence, a belief that life and maybe grace still hold meaning, still hold potential for you.
That's a really profound shift, especially for anyone who just equates physical decline with inevitable misery.
Exactly. It suggests the key resources you need are internal, not just physical strength or perfect health.
Which leads perfectly to the next big question. How does this inner self-perception actually work? Like, how does it protect us? I know you mentioned a great long-term study.
Yes, there was this fantastic study followed adults aged 70 to 100 for 16 years. Really illustrative.
16 years, wow. What did they find?
Well, two key things. One, the vast majority consistently felt younger than their actual chronological age.
Okay, that's pretty common, right?
It is, but the second finding is maybe more important. They remained deeply satisfied with their lives overall, even as physical changes inevitably happened over those 16 years. Feeling younger is one thing, but staying deeply satisfied for that long, despite physical changes, that takes some active work, surely.
Absolutely.
What were they doing? What were the specific, cognitive tricks or behaviors?
They were engaging in something researchers call selective optimization with compensation.
Okay, can you translate that?
Yeah, basically means they intentionally downplayed the physical changes, sort of reframed them cognitively, and they focused their energy, their attention, on what still brought them meaning, pleasure, purpose.
So if, reading small print became hard because of eyesight,
Right.
they didn't just lament losing that hobby, they shifted.
Exactly. They might redirect that energy towards something else that fueled their sense of purpose. Maybe mentoring, maybe writing, maybe engaging with family in a different way, whatever worked for them.
Got it. They adapted.
They were highly effective at self-acceptance. The research calls it aligning with a kinder view of the self.
A kinder view.
Yeah, instead of constantly comparing their 80-year-old body to their 40-year-old one, which is a losing battle.
Totally. They accepted the current limitations, but they really magnified their strengths, maybe wisdom, relationships, accumulated knowledge, meaning.
And this is crucial, I think. This internal attitude doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It's heavily influenced by the outside world.
Absolutely. Culture, specifically.
Culture? How so?
Well, the sources are clear. Culture can be a huge source of blessing or, frankly, a detriment, especially around ageism.
Right.
If the cultural story is all about older adults being burdens or irrelevant or out of touch, it takes enormous internal energy to fight that narrative constantly.
Yeah, you see that.
But when the culture affirms the dignity, the value, the wisdom of older adults, that actively strengthens the mind. It provides support.
Is there specific evidence for that link?
There is. A really powerful example comes from older Chinese adults.
Okay.
One study found they performed significantly better on quite difficult memory tasks right after being reminded of the deep respect their families and their society in general held for them.
Wait, just being reminded of being respected improved their memory scores?
Significantly, yes, on the spot.
That is amazing. Actually amazing.
It really underscores the point. Dignity gives life. Affirmation strengthens the mind. Your internal positive self-talk is just infinitely easier when the world outside reflects back your worth.
The implications for, how we structure society, how we talk about aging, are massive.
Huge.
So the mind, the body, self-perception, external context, they're all interconnected.
Definitely.
But we have to be careful here. We need that reality check.
Absolutely.
This idea of graceful aging, as we're discussing it, it's not about just denying limitations, right? It's not just pure positive thinking, ignoring problems.
No, that distinction is vital. We are absolutely not suggesting aging is just wishing away difficulties.
Right.
We have to acknowledge the stats. Something like 40% of Americans over 65 live with at least one disability. Physical changes are real. Undeniable.
40% is a big number.
Yeah.
And it highlights the need for support systems, healthcare, accessibility.
Of course.
So how do the researchers square that physical reality with these powerful psychological findings?
They focus on agency within the limitation. Yes, physical ability might decline for many, but the majority of older adults still remain emotionally healthy, socially connected, independent in many ways.
Okay.
So, true optimism as these sources define it, isn't the blind optimism. It's about accepting the realities of the body. Okay, this physical boundary is new. I accept that while simultaneously keeping faith in the resilience, the adaptability of the spirit.
Can you give an example?
Sure. It's the difference between saying, oh, I can't run anymore, my knees are shot, everything's downhill.
Yeah, the despair narrative.
Right. Versus saying, okay, my knees mean running's out, I accept that, but hey, I can still swim or cycle or do chair yoga, and I'm going to focus my energy on that activity, the one that still brings me joy and movement.
It's an active choice, a redirection.
It's an active choice to maintain engagement, yes, within the new reality.
That really redefines grace, doesn't it? It's not about being untouched by hardship.
Not at all.
It's about how you respond with poise and purpose, even when things are difficult.
Precisely. It's in that balance, that intentional blend, accepting the physical truth and preserving your emotional agency, your purpose. That's where the sources say grace quietly dwells. It's that mature understanding, maybe, that while the body has its seasons, its limits, the spirit doesn't necessarily have to.
So that kind of brings us to the final synthesis, doesn't it? Pulling it all together.
I think so.
Based on everything, self-prophecy, resilience despite limits, cultural dignity.
Right.
The whole definition of the aging process kind of shifts.
How so?
Well, aging at its best isn't just about getting through growing old. It's more about growing whole.
Growing whole. I like that.
The attitude you choose, that positive self-perception we've talked about, it's like the lens that turns the experience of growing old into one of growing wise.
Because it dictates where you put your focus, your energy, your purpose.
Exactly. So maybe just to quickly recap the key takeaways for everyone listening.
Good idea.
First, attitude isn't an afterthought. It's arguably the strongest predictor of longevity and satisfaction. It really matters.
Crucial point.
Second, resilience isn't about avoiding physical challenges.
Yeah.
It's about adaptation, that presence of faith, that quiet confidence within the challenges.
Right. Mind over matter, in a way.
And third, that external piece, dignity, cultural respect. It's not just nice to have. It's like nutritional support for the mind.
Yeah.
It actually boosts cognitive function.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And, we started this whole deep dive by talking about how your attitudes are these spiritual choices, this kind of self-prophecy.
Right. Speaking to your future self.
Exactly. You're doing it right now, whether you realize it or not.
Okay.
So if self-perception and self-acceptance are really the keys, and if the research shows that intentionality shapes what's coming, maybe the final thought for everyone is this. What simple, maybe tiny, immediate change could you make in your internal dialogue about aging? Just one word you change, one reframing of a physical reality. What shift would count as speaking blessing to the future you? Because that internal shift, however small it seems, that might be the most powerful piece of work you can do today for your future well-being.